So, hello everyone. Good evening, and welcome to this session. So, we are just one day, 24 hours away from the NEET SS medical group entrance examinations, and this will be a brief session. Just to guide you on the do's and don'ts for the last 24 hours, and not just that. We'll also be discussing the exam writing strategy as well. We know that your time is precious, so we limit this to the bare essential points. Now, see, you all are experts. You've already written the NEET PG or the INICT entrance examination, so you know how the exam is. But I'm sure that at this juncture, support is always required. And me and Dr. Karthik, we are in front of you not as faculties or teachers, but just as seniors, just to guide you on the last minute do's and don'ts. So, Dr. Karthik, welcome to this session.
Good evening, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good evening. So, Karthik, I think let's not waste any time, and let's start with the session. So, can you just show the presentation? We have got a small presentation for you guys, just to make everything in order, and so as to make sure that we do not miss out on points. Okay. So, yes, Dr. Karthik will be starting off on the last 24-hour strategy, including the exam day strategy. Okay, if you have got any queries, you can type in the chat box as well. Yes,
yeah.
Dr. Karthik, over.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. So as Rahul sir has rightly pointed out, we'll be taking very little of your time in the next 15 minutes or so, mainly just giving you an overview, especially for the people who are going to attend the exam for the first time, the NEET SS pattern. The INISS, most of you must have attended, say 2 to 3 weeks ago. But the pattern in NEET SS is slightly different from last year onwards, and many of the students had reported to us last time also, they found it difficult to adjust with the pattern. So it is always important to expect like what you're going to get on the exam day and to be prepared in advance, even in any adverse circumstance. So with that, I'll start off with what determines the final rank in NEET SS. You have 150 questions for your paper, and if you go through almost all the recalls of the yesteryear NEET SS papers, so it is virtually like everyone, almost all of you who have at least gave some amount of preparation will be able to answer around 50% of the paper, around 60% in some of the easier sections of the paper. But there will be a clustering, and there will be a people who will be scoring extraordinarily well in the very highest 10th percentile. But this clustering that you have in the middle, and this rank difference that you have, it comes from the time mismanagement, early fatigue, long question traps, and often the panic in the later blocks, which is going to happen. So these things have to be taken into account while you are attending the exam. You all know how the exam structure is going to be. You will have 150 questions, and you will have exact 1 minute for each question, total of 150 minutes. And from the last year onwards, 2024 exam onwards, they have been dividing these 150 questions into 3 blocks, each block with 50 questions in 50 minutes. And what is more important, you get 60 seconds for one question. That is not mandatory, but you will have to complete the first block of 50 questions in the first 50 minutes itself. So once the first block of 50 questions is over, you cannot return. Even if you have finished that 50 questions in 40 minutes, but you cannot like carry over that additional time that you have gained into the next section. So once a block ends, you cannot return. So there is no buffer. You cannot save time, or if you take too much of time, you cannot like compensate with the next block. So each block is a mini exam in itself. This is a very, very important thing that the students have to be wary about. Now, the marking scheme, the correct response will fetch you 4 marks. Incorrect, you will be having 1 mark deducted from your total score, and unattempted question, there will be no marks deducted or gained. And one very important point, some of the questions you may mark for review. Without having any options marked, you may mark it for review. Or sometimes you may choose one option, then mark it for review. At the end of the exam, if you had not changed the review option or mark for review option, whichever option which was like existing or it was chosen at the end of the exam, any option was there, it will be considered as your final answer. So if you had not chosen any option for that particular question, then it will be left as unattempted. So remember, even if you mark it and just put it for review and then forget about it, it will be considered as your response. So please keep in mind, because some of the students have asked query, it has been like this in the previous sessions as well. So we've been getting so many feedbacks from the students who have attended the last session, and they've been telling, so in each of those blocks, especially the first block, there were a lot of long clinical questions they had to encounter early on. And they had to spend, remember, one question on an average, we could spend or afford around 60 seconds or 1 minute. But because of the length of the question, they had to spend around 2 to 3 minutes for many long clinical questions in the first half of the block. And what has happened eventually? So they will they had panic by around midway, by around question 30. So there were actually very, very easy and straightforward questions toward the larger part of the block, but many of the students had to leave certain simple questions at the end unanswered, or they had marked wrong under stress. So these things can happen. Even the best, with the best of the preparation, can sometimes crumble under pressure, especially the lack of time. And this stress or the panic could easily carry over to the next block, and thus overall affecting your performance. Some of the students I personally know who had performed extremely well in the INI, but not so much in the NEET. And one of the main reasons was their lack of proper time management.
And Karthik, I think just to interrupt there, I think block one is going to be very crucial because you're just entering the exam hall, and some of you might have written the previous year NEET SS, but I believe that most of you might not have given NEET SS. So if you're not used to the block style of answering, let me just tell you, like even for a candidate who has prepared well, the first block is going to be tricky. I'll tell you why. Because see, we all know that NEET SS is very unpredictable. If you look over the last few years, there have been always surprises. When one of the NEET SS examination, I've seen a surprise like good number of questions, more than expected from genetics. In another NEET SS examination, I think it was in 2021, more than expected number of image-based questions actually came. And number three, subject weightage can keep changing. We have seen NEET SS examinations where no questions have come from hematology to exams where good number of questions have come from hematology. So you have to understand that surprises are due, and it is same for everyone. When you go to an INI exam, the predictability is better. You can predict the pattern, but that's not the case with NEET SS. But this is not something that I'm telling you to make you panic. But please understand, this is same for all candidates of the country, because NEET SS has always been unpredictable. But the first block will actually give you the actual mood of the paper. So once you write the initial 25-30 questions, you will get an idea on how this exam is going and how the mood is. And then it is easy for you to adjust. Now, when you write the first 8 to 10 questions, there is a chance that you might write 8 to 10 questions by around say 13 minutes or so. So then you look at the time, you might panic. Don't worry, you can catch up. But it is important to catch up. Sometimes what happens is that some students, they might take a lot of time, especially for block one, because they're just getting used to the heat of the exam. So that is when you might not actually attend all the questions of the block if your time management is not proper. So if you miss out on a few questions, then you might panic going to the next block. But in case such a thing happens, imagine that it is a lengthy paper than what you expected, and there is going to be a time management issue. Even if you miss out on a couple of questions, just forget about that. Once you move to the next block, just think about that new block alone, because otherwise having thoughts of any question in the previous block is not going to help you. So you will have some errors that you actually make, or some careless mistakes in the previous block. Something of that will happen. We are all human beings, and forgive yourself and just move forward. That's what I want to tell you. The message is the first block is going to be tricky, and you make sure that your time management for the first block is proper.
Absolutely, sir. So to use the cricketing analogy, if you are chasing a very high score, it is always important to get a quick and a rapid start. So that is the reason why we have just going to give you a slight like an advice or an orientation on what could be an approach. Each of you might have an approach of your own. So this is just for a guidance, an overall guidance on how to approach in such a scenario. So you have always should move consecutively question by question. And what time you should give to each question will depend on its type. So for convenience, we have divided the type of questions into three. So the first pass will be an instant decision questions. Again, to use the cricketing analogy, these are the weaker bowlers where you can score freely and heavily. So there should be no stones unturned in these questions. So what are these questions? They are usually what we call as the NEET PG level question. There will be some straightforward questions, one-liner questions that you already know, the answer you have in the back of the mind. Some of the questions you need not even look at the options. It will be well versed for you. So these are direct fact-based questions, or the diagnosis is very obvious and you can clearly eliminate the option. So these are the questions from which we have to gain time. But some students often make a mistake in double checking and triple checking, because once, as sir told, till the time you are getting used to the heat of the exam, you may have to spend more time. So please don't spend more than what is required for these type of questions. So you have to mark the answer, move on immediately, and no rereading, because you are very unlikely to get these things wrong. So no point in double checking and triple checking. You have to conserve maximum amount of time from these type of questions. So target time 20 to 40 seconds. If you are able to finish it off within 20 seconds, remember you are actually gaining around 40 seconds, which can be carried over to the next question. And be sure about it, at least 40 to 50% of these questions in the block will be in this category. Pass one, straightforward. The remaining 50% is going to trouble you a bit. So in this 50% questions, you have to be score the maximum and also save maximum amount of time. So pass two, or the second straight off question, will be like a short thinking questions. They may not be as straightforward as the first one. There could be a slightly longer question. Sometimes they could be asking all except, which of the following is true, which of the following is false, some statement based question, or there could be an image based questions where you may have to put in a little bit more thought. So it may require a little more logic, needs one careful read. Unlike the long clinical questions where we have to look at all the pointers, it needs one careful read, but it can be solved within 60 seconds. Okay, I'm very sure that with the amount of practice that you have with the help of GTs and QBank, you are very well versed in reading, analyzing, and interpreting the question. So what is the rule here? Once you feel that this belongs to this category, you have to decide and commit for the answer. But make sure you must not, in any circumstance, don't go beyond 75-second mark. Okay, so just keep an approximate, or keep a watch on the clock also. You may think over and over about it. The question could be from one of the areas where you had revised in one of the last days. So you might find a big egoistic or in a prestige issue that I have to find the answer for this. So please, under any circumstance, you should not devote more than 1.5 or 75 seconds or more for these type of questions, because that is
Karthik, I
going to
think
eat away the time.
these sort of questions are tricky as well, because students need to take a decision either to skip this question and then come again after they're done with other questions, or to commit, thinking that if they fall short of time, this answer will go, this answer will be taken. What I believe is, if you are reasonably confident, it's better to mark it, because when you have an exam like NEET SS, I think the mood should be aggressive. yes, it depends on the level of toughness of the paper. But when you go there, you have to go with a positive mindset. And you are here to attend maximum questions, but I'm not saying you attend all questions. Obviously, there may be a few bouncers. It's okay to leave the bouncers. But for these questions, if I was in your place and if I am reasonably confident, I'll commit to an answer. But many a times what happens is that, students think, okay, I'll come later and read it again and then answer. But the problem is that then when you come back later, you might not get the time to read it again. So it's better to commit. And very important, the first rule that Karthik said, decide and commit. It's very, very important. Karthik, please carry on.
Yes, sir. So that is about the second category of questions. And the third category, these are the ones which can actually bamboozle you if they comprise of the initial part of your block. So the risk questions or the time sink questions, you have no idea how the questions 30 to 50 is going to be. You cannot judge that the entire block is going to be these type of long clinical questions if at all they come as the earlier question number 1 to 10 or 1 to 20. So these questions often have a very long stem, and you are pretty sure that you have to like analyze, read the question, analyze it, and correlate to get the answer. So you'll be giving multiple lab values. You may feel an emotional pull towards the question, and you cross 60 seconds, or you still be unsure as what is the answer and what could be the possible diagnosis or whatever. So in such situations, so if you feel just by starting to read the question at that moment itself, if you feel that no, this is going to be a long question, this is going to take most of the time, in that time I'm going to conserve the time for the time being, and then I'll come later on for a repeat review. That is well and good. If you feel that on the first read the topic is dissimilar, or your like the clarity of thought is not there, something is not clicking in your mind, you may not be able to decipher what is meant in the question. In such situation, don't waste too much time, skip within 20 seconds and promise to return only if time permits. So if you are able to make that decision early, like within 30 seconds or so, then you can be 100% sure that at the end of it you will definitely get time to review the question. But if you had already spent a couple of minutes reading the question and then you are still unsure, then you are skipping the question and moving on to the next, you have not only wasted the time for that question, but you have eaten up the time for the succeeding questions also. So please, if you feel the question is too difficult or feel is a risk question, mark for review and come back later on. So this question that's steal time early can destroy 3 to 4 answers later on. That is a very important point to keep in mind. Now, your aim
I
is
just want
to,
to tell all the viewers
yeah,
that we'll be sharing this PDF also in the group, because I know that some of you might just want to just go through this. We'll share this PDF also in the group. Certain students asked. Yeah, thank you.
yeah,
Please go on,
yeah.
Karthik.
So, like your aim is to go through that 50 questions in the block and finish it off at least one go as early as possible, so that you have at least more than 7 to 10 minutes left for re-reviewing the marked questions. So once you have reached question 50, you make sure that there is some time left for the questions to be re-reviewed. So revisit only marked questions. Some students are in the habit of going through the entire set again, then also your purpose is going to be defeated. Some questions we already know it is the answer, but again you may have to spend 10 more seconds on that. You are wasting those precious little time. So attempt on re-attempting the reviewed ones. You try to attempt only those that now feel clearer. One of the concepts that had not come to you earlier when you first went through the question, now when you are re-reviewing it, it becomes clearer, then you can re-attempt it. And you can't leave the rest. You need not force the answers. If you are able to like bring it down to two options, narrow it down to two options, and you have a gut feeling that this could be the answer, then as Rahul sir told, please go for it, as you have to maximize the strike rate. But if you are not very sure of the topic, you are confused between three options, you need not take unnecessary risk which can give you negative marks. So only if you are able to narrow it down to two options, please go for it. Otherwise, just a blind illogical guess may not be the need of the hour during the exam. So this is again, it is always important to start fresh and start well. But however the start may be, even if the first block didn't go well, So please, once you move on to the second block, forget about what has happened in the preceding block. You please do not like try to calculate the score in the back of your mind, because I was in the habit in some of the exams when I gave my NEET PG or like a DNB exam and all, I was thinking about the previous question even while attempting the present question. So that again caused a lot of negative like impact in my scores as well. So please forget the previous block, don't calculate scores in between, and no regret about the like questions you were not able to attend or you are not able to guess correctly. Now, reading the long question again, a lot of students have asked, see, we are getting long clinical questions, how to crack it. Again, there is no shortcut for that, but very important to have a first clear read of the questions. And please don't avoid, please avoid reading in panic. And what I used to do is I always look at the last line first. Even if the question with last long stem, I will always look at the last point and what is the examiner intending to ask. It could be it could be what is the diagnosis, what is the next best step, what is the treatment. So then you have to pick and choose the cardinal points which are given in the question, like any defining points like the age, background illness, lab, medication. And more often than not, only the question is long, but the answer is going to be very short. There will be a lot of background noise in the form of unnecessary information. With your amount of practice that you have with these QBank and GTs, you will be able to discard those noise and will be able to identify the right one. So you have tried to summarize that long clinical question into 5 or 6 keywords. And please recheck for traps. Many students are telling, sir, I mistook the true for false, and that except point, it didn't get registered in your mind. So that is why keeping your cool and having a calm head during the exam is of utmost importance. Should not confuse, because if you're reading the question in panic, it's very likely that you will miss out on these terms, which can actually determine what is a right answer or what is a wrong answer. Rahul sir, any take from your side, sir?
Yeah. This is this last slide?
No, sir, no.
No,
No.
no, you can just move on. I have
Okay.
got certain last summary points which we'll
Okay.
discuss in the day.
Fine. So exam day plan, again, all of you know, we have already discussed it prior to the INI exam as well. Please don't go late into the night reading and revising the notes. You've already done the hard work in the preceding months. So make sure you're having a sound sleep of at least 6 to 8 hours in the day prior to the exam. Take a very light breakfast, and very important to reach the center at least an hour early. You please avoid any last minute hushes, which again can affect the mood, your confidence level, your panic, anxiety levels. Everything can negatively impact the exam. So please reach the center so that there are no last minute glitches or anything. And you have to, I know it's very difficult, but you should try to stay calm and steady throughout the exam. So attend the last question of the exam paper just in the same way or and the same concentration as you did your first question. And if at all you panic, I would close my eyes and take deep breath for around 5 to 10 seconds to get your mind a reboot. So as Rahul sir has rightly pointed out, you have to go in with an aggressive mode. If you are able to narrow it down to 2 options, go for the answer. But remember, it is not a given or not mandatory that you should attempt all the questions. You are here to maximize the correct answers. Unlike INI, where I myself had told you, try to attempt upwards of 75 out of 80, because only the top 15 or 20 rankers are going to get the decide seat. But here, you have a lot more of seats and you want to stay in the upper half or in the upper quartile. So you have to maximize the correct answers, and you should keep a rigorous mind in minimizing the negatives as well. So please don't think leaving questions is a failure. It could be part of a strategy. However, if you have any possibility that this could be the answer, if that thought comes to your mind, go for it as the answer. Over to you, Rahul sir.
Yeah, so just some last minute summary points. What I just want to tell you is most of them we have already covered, but just to tell you, Number one, a few commonly asked queries. I'm just addressing it once again. Number one, when to change the answer. Okay, that is, you have already committed to the answer. You are just reviewing it once again. Now you feel like you want to change the answer. You can change the answer, but only if, number one, you feel that you misinterpret or misread the question in the first go. Number two, you found a new buzzword which you missed in the first read. Otherwise, the first guess is always the best guess. Next, it's important to maintain focus whatever happens in each block. The first question of the exam and the last question of the exam should be answered with the same focus and energy level, whatever happens during the exam time. Number three, if the exam is tough for you, it is tough for everyone. If it is unpredictable, it is unpredictable for everyone. That's what I want to tell you. Next, don't underestimate yourself just based on your GT scores. I've got many messages, sir, my GT score is only this much, but do you think, I can do well in the actual exam? What if the final exam turns out to be the best GT? Because, on the D day, it all depends on your mental stability as well. Next, when to look at the time. What I used to do is, and what I, advise students is that when you have a block based exam, in this case, it is 50, right? So every 10 minutes, you can just have a quick at the time, look at the time. Don't look at the time every 2 to 3 minutes again, see, and then you're just wasting your time. So every 10 minutes, approximately, the clock in your mind, you can just check, whether you're going at pace or not. Next, while you're reading a question, don't panic and read, just have a focused, relaxed read. Then only the scenario based questions you'll be able to interpret better. And very important, you go to the exam hall praying that whatever you have studied, let it come. But let me tell you, anticipate a crisis, which means the crisis can be in terms of the difficulty level of questions, or more than number of questions from one system that you have not read much. Anything of this sort can happen, but whatever happens, just believe that, look, you've got good number of questions, there are good number of seats for NEET SS, and yes, if you do a decent exam, you will get a decent college. And I can see one of the students saying in the comment section, Dr. Dipul, if I remember right, he is currently an endocrinology first year resident. He was a student last year, and I can just read that message for you. Last year, Karthik sir's statement saved me. The first half, I think he's referring to the first block, was very tough, but then it reminded me that it is not that important. So your time is yet to come, which means he probably focused on the remaining blocks. That's what I want everyone to understand. And think just positive, because I just answer one more question here. I can see one student is asking, Aditya, how similar will be NEET SS exam to DocTutorials GT, or is it going to be more similar to Marrow GT? I'll tell you what you should do. First of all, nobody knows in this world, what question is going to come, be it DocTutorials or Marrow. But what I would suggest is all DocTutorial subscribers should pray that everything comes from DocTutorials GT. But if you are a Marrow subscriber, you should pray with folded hands that everything should come from Marrow GT. So just do that. Just think positive. The more positive you are, relaxed you are, the chance that you attain your optimal performance will be more. That is what I want all my dear children to know. And I hope as faculties, we have given our best, all the team members, in whatever time we could actually get, we have tried our best to support you by giving you the resources. And I can confidently say that in DocTutorials, the resources that you have got, be the main videos, QRP videos, test and discussion videos, Harrison's tables and flowchart videos, update videos. I don't think there is any platform, that has given you these many resources. So, you can just go to the exam hall confident. Yes, our subject is vast. You may not know everything. Some of things you might forget, but that's okay. I wish all my dear children to give a very good examination. And Karthik, any closing statements?
Again, sir, echoing what you have already told, sir, because like see, I've seen many students who have not done very well in the INI, who did extremely well for the NEET SS. So even if you didn't get the expected result in the INI, please do give your best for NEET SS, because we have done very like a long preparation of toiling very hard in the preceding months, and this is the day which is going to matter the most. So please like stay very calm. Don't get panicked. Even if there are a few difficult questions upfront, it is a long exam. Even the topper will not get more than, see, 120 or 125 questions correct. Even the person who is going to get a digit rank. So if you are like getting a score of more than 100 or 105 answers correct, that is going to be an extremely good score. So please don't get taken aback from the initial setback, if at all you are having that. Because as sir told, always anticipate a crisis, and even if it comes, please don't panic.
Yeah. So thank you so much, everyone. And somebody's asking how many questions you attend. Go to the exam all thinking that you're going to attend all 150. And then depending on the level of toughness, the first block will give you ideas on how the paper is going. Okay, but be on the positive side. Try to attend maximum number of questions. If you are able to narrow down to 2 options, if your mind says go for it, just go for it. Okay. Thank you so much, and love from all of us. We all will be praying for you. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Good luck for the
Thank
exam.
you.
All
Thank
the
you.
best.